Sorry about that, guys. So let's go back through that one more time just to make sure we're on the same page. I'd rather look for the scalp long into Monday's lows, right? Or if we trap, I want it to trap very close to this area for move to the upside. The only place I'd be concerned is if we trapped back up in this area afterwards. The way that we're driving right now, this is not going to be a concern, right? So areas below, I'll cover that quickly since it doesn't look like we're going to have an issue there. I will take a long first time down into this 44.46 and to this 39.50, 41.50 location, followed by the zone below this 37.50 to 36.50. It's a very narrow band. Okay, simply treat this is the back of the zone. It needs a 2-point stop below. So critical in here, guys, just bigger picture. This area, this 1934, all the way down to 1920, right? These are various stages of 50 to 60 retraces. I obviously don't think we're going to get down there today. The range would have to expand massively, but you never know. That being said, I will be looking at all these points, at all these zones down here. Let me get rid of this. That was not intended to be there. I'll look at all these zones down here as potential trade locations for moves back to for swing moves back to the upside. I don't anticipate that we're getting there today, so I'm not going to spend very much time there. Okay, on the upside, basically on ES, I'm not looking short. It just simply the trap trades have not convinced me that they're working yet. I'm going to see a very big stretch to the upside, and given the thinness of the market, okay, there's sometimes you just kind of have to say, I'm going to surrender a concept, and I'm going to surrender the short side concept on ES. There's simply too much driving it to the upside. I'll look for traps at first hour lows to push back up along with Globex low and prior day's low, but I'm willing to surrender on ES unless I see something dramatic change, keeping in mind that NQ has been the leader just for this week. I don't have to be the one that fights it all the way up, and I'm cool with letting that go. If anyone has an issue with that or wants to know where I would take the shorts on the upside, you're more than welcome. The zones, I think, are still valid up here. I do think that at the 63, 65, we should run into some initial resistance in this area, along with 68.50 to 70.50, then 73.50 to 75.50. I do think these are potential areas where we could get moves to the downside, and if you'd like to exercise that and trade that, that's fine. Just in my own book, there's some things that aren't worth fighting. There's some things that just take more energy and stress than they're worth. And in a thin holiday market, I don't see any bad news on the horizon. And even worse, I don't see anyone remotely react. It's not that there's no bad news on the horizon or that we need bad news. There's simply a complete lack of fear to the downside. No one is scared. Everyone is stepping in. Every level gets stepped in on, and we go up twice as fast as we go down. That's not a good formula for me for taking a short, and so I can afford to pass on that, and I will pass on that. I don't have a big issue there. If anyone has any questions about it, you can ask me, but even if we got up here, right, plus 20, I think the first time down into this location or first time down into this location, I would look to be a responsive buyer back to the upside. If we trap, the only exception to that would be is if we consolidate for an exceptional long time. Let's say this ends up being the first hour high, and then we get back below this, or we trade above, and then we trade above the 1960, right? So let me actually paint one exception to that. What would change my mind? We trade above the 1960, maybe even up into this 1965 or even 68, and then from whatever reason, we get back below year-to-date high and Globex high, whatever that turns out to be. That would change my mind, okay, probably in a significant way, but that's only after we have spent a considerable amount of time above that level, okay? So I'll watch for it, but oh, I know what I want to say in the other portion of this is when we break, okay, we've all been in markets that have broken. In case everyone has forgotten, because I know people can get a little frustrated, so I'm going to go over this really quick. Okay, so I'm just going to pull up a random chart, or an unmarked chart, not random. Okay, so that's ES. Let's just go to a 15-minute chart. Okay, this was the last big downside we had. This was in April. Okay, when markets break, okay, this was the first sign right here. Here, let's consolidate this so everyone can see this. This is the first sign here that we were going to have a market that was actually starting to work two ways, and that was in early March. It took all the way from early March until early April until we had these easy downside moves, okay? And even then, it only lasted for 2 weeks, right? Even within that period of time, the easier trades, okay, the easier trades on most of these days were trades back to the long side. I can't emphasize that strongly enough. I know it looks like we went down, but if you go look intraday, a lot of really good trades set up in this area were longs back to the upside, and that's exactly how I'd want to play it right now in terms of protecting my capital, would be for looking for rotations lower, for moves back to the upside have worked consistently. In all these areas, trap trades on all of this worked fantastically back up. We ended up with a two-way market by the time we got to April, and we picked these off. We had no issues grabbing these. We picked most of these off to the downside. I didn't do a great job actually back to the upside last time, and it's actually an area of focus to improve upon for me for this whatever the next cycle is where we go down. Okay, so at any rate, that's my 2 cents about working for the downside. Everyone who was early trying to force their downside trades in this thing, okay, which would have been March, were consistently frustrated, right? And that included us. That included me to a certain degree, right? I was simply very hesitant. Right, you only saw a few days where we actually had true trend days down. Almost everything else garnered big buy responses from the lows, and almost all these buy responses came after 9:30 in the morning, right? So I'll be looking for the exact same thing the next time we kind of start going to that first initial wave of downside moves. Is I'll be looking to be a responsive buyer through that first wave. I'm not looking for Armageddon, and I don't think the market's going to crash from here. And there's no sign when the market gets to the top. One more point, okay? When the market gets to the top, not only does it doesn't generally grind like this, okay? So 2007, 2006, 2007, before we hit a top there, we did kind of just falter off of out of a balance area back to the downside. And that's a possibility. We'll know it when we see it. But usually when markets top, we get these whipping actions where we have big exaggerated moves, and we'll also start hearing about these ridiculous moves in individual names, right? Usually you'll start hearing about small penny stocks starting to double, right, going from 8 to 20 or 8 to 30 kind of stuff. And I haven't seen any of that yet. Harry, are you struggling? Am I sounding, can everyone hear me clearly? Okay, Harry, I hate to tell you this, but that looks like you're the only one who's having that issue there, buddy, on that end. So I don't know what's going on there. Okay, so let's jump back over to the charts real quick. Sorry for the distraction. Let's look at NQ really fast. Let me adjust. Where are we on ES here real quick? 1958 and a quarter still. I got a feeling we're going to push right to 1960 right off the open, right? So what would I expect if we open at 1960? Well, there's two possibilities. We're either going to have a strong response to that year-to-date high, right, and trap below. What's going to happen in that case? Am I going to miss it? Yeah, I'm not taking the scalp into the high on ES. There's been no evidence that I should. That simply means that I'm going to end up missing the first big downside rotation, but that's okay. I don't feel like burying myself in a hole trying to be the first one to figure out where the top is on this thing. Okay, so let's go to the next chart here real quick. NQ. Okay, let's see where Globex high is sitting on NQ right now. I've got way too many charts up. Here we go. 38.54, 75. Okay, so hasn't moved a lot yet. This is RTH. This 38.51 is obviously going to be important here on this backside test, along with gap fill sitting right here. You might want to mark it off. I don't bother to do it on this particular chart, right? So I've tried to put in areas below, Okay, so I want to stress with NQ. The most important component of NQ is the rotation size. 15 points has been key for weeks here, right? Both on the upside and the downside. Okay, the ideal situation would be to look for a rotation back to the upside from a 15-point rotation lower, 15 to 20. So that means that if you get a 15-point rotation lower, you're going to need approximately a 10-point stop to get into the highest odds of making that trade work for you back in the correct direction. Okay, NQ is not as easy. A, it gets thinner, right? B, if we get a news event, right? Last time, if we look at this, I want to pull this up. This last downside move, which seems like forever ago. Okay, this is approximately, I'm not going to measure it right now for time reasons. That is a 30-point rotation. If the first 15 doesn't hold, go and look another 15 lower. That'll generally give you good trade location, guys. Okay, so just to make it simple. Okay, so my concept is, right, in terms of trading, the 15-point rotations lower have been the easiest. We have not been getting 15-point rotations lower necessarily. So what are the other areas that will work today in terms of possible long locations? So the first thing I'm going to want to see, and actually the trade that I might be willing to give a shot, is somewhere between here and gap fill. And my guess is on NQ we're not going to get gap fill. I could be completely wrong, right? So here's gap fill. My guess is, first of all, my guess is we're probably going to open up a little bit higher, probably is 38.55 to 38.58. The first attempt at the backside test of yesterday's high, right? We'll find responsive buyers for a push back up. I could be wrong on that, but if I were going to be super aggressive, this would be the first place where I would look for a trade to the upside. If I were patient, right, and I'm going to wait for the proper rotation size, I'm simply going to wait for my first 15-point rotation lower, and that stop is going to require a 10-point stop to make sure it works. Most of you like to trade with, that I've spoken with, like to trade with a 5-point stop on NQ. You simply have to be willing to enter the trade twice. I simply would prefer to lower my trade size and adjust appropriately for and take. What I'm trying to say is, I think the 10-point rotation, the 10-point stop behind the 15-point rotation, will keep me in the trade long enough to get scales at 4 points, 9 points, and 14 points. Those would be my 3 scale points that I'm looking for out of that. I'll call it if I see it. I'm going to stay on today until about 9:45 in the morning. And that's really how I'm going to handle NQ. I probably will attempt a scalp first time into this location right here on NQ and play for the strength. This assumes that we push a little bit off the open and I get an opportunity to get a rotation lower. Okay, so I've got a weird feeling that first 5-minute bar today is going to be the low bar of the day on NQ, and that we'll drive from there. There's not much holding us back. If we go and look at the NQ chart, right, let me show it to you. Okay, this was the base right here that we consolidated off of. This is somewhat similar to what ES looks like. They tried to break. They have finally broken out, okay? And NQ trades, before we get overly bearish, right? See how we broke off this base? Look when we broke off this base right here, okay? This thing drove last time for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 days. It drove up, okay? So I'm not going to turn around and go, oh, this is the top, right? This right here, and this in particular, this little area right here, looks extremely similar to this as being the beginning of a drive to the upside. Where will I know that it's clearly wrong, right? Well, a break back below this 3,800 level would be my first clue. That's 40 points, right? 50 points below where we're trading right now, and we need to close. As a matter of fact, first time back into this area, I would be a responsive buyer as opposed to being bearish. The first sign that we'll be bearish will be when we get below this location here, right? And that would start a potential move back to this 3,600 level. Again, It's 4th of July week. I don't expect to have any significant downside moves. Something's going to have to happen to trigger that. There's been no profit taking if that occurs. I'll adjust my trade in the middle of the day. Hold on one second here. Okay. Let's see if there's, let's talk about YM for a moment. I don't have a YM chart up. I will pull it up. By the way, CL, you'll see right here, is still not bearish. Okay, guys. I traded a little bit yesterday. Okay, we're just doing these consolidation sideways moves. It's pulling down a little bit. I see nothing to keep it from having its next leg up, right? Obviously, if I call a trade on CL today, this is obviously what I am, right? That 104 down to 101 is the next level of structure. We haven't gotten down into that or even backside tested, so it makes sense. This was the breakout point, and we're obviously incredibly poorly auctioned right through here. I would expect eventually a backside test of 104, but that 105 area is still golden. And if we look at it from this standpoint, right, which I've emphasized again and again, bigger picture, right, 104.25 to 103.50. That's a 50% retrace from here. I would also look at it from this standpoint here as another potential area. Reversal again. We're poorly. If we get underneath this area, we're really poorly auctioned right down into this 102. Again, I would expect responsive buyers at 102 if we get down there, but I'm not calling for a correction at this particular point. And we're relatively poorly auctioned on chart right now. I expect resistance right up here at 106.85. Really poorly auctioned into that area, and I think once we re-auction it, that we could find responsive sellers back to the downside at that point. But obviously, the upside trade has been very easy and on that, and anything negative coming out of the Middle East will push us. But I also want to remind you, right, that a lot of that, we're not nearly as dependent on oil. That's been a big change in the picture of the price of oil, and a lot of this is simply being driven. I'm almost positive that I'm right about this. This is being driven by economic demand and not by what's going on in the Middle East yet. You'll see the spike. The Middle East spikes are big. The last Middle East spike we had, I'm going to just spend one more second on this, was back here. There we go. Okay. This was our last Middle East spike. And I mean, this thing was just ripping through here. This was last July. Obviously, that was when we had the whole not Benghazi deal, but Libya and Syria deal. This is when you get a premium, right? And if you look at this move, this was from 90 all the way up to 110. Okay, but look at the speed at which that climbed and the spikes that we had here. Okay, and then the breakdown afterwards. If you look at this move here. Go back over here. This has not been a spiky move. With the one exception of this move right here, this has been consolidation, breakout, and consolidation. Okay, this is a very structured move. It's not spiky at all. So when we get spiky, my guess is we may get back to that 110. We may even get to 120, but we haven't gotten to that point yet. So that's just my thoughts on CL. I'll continue to trade it to the upside until I see it otherwise. And then let's look at YM really quick. Okay, I found this interesting on YM. We still have plenty of room to the upside on this thing. Okay, there's a double top sitting right there. I have it marked off on the chart, right? There's actually room to break out, and we've been consolidating in a very tight range down here, right? This obviously this 16,650 is the bottom of the range, right? And then obviously I always get interested when we get responsive buyers in one particular area. So this is the bottom after we have this gap here. So I'm always interested to go and look at where the fibs are lining up on that. So, and when we do that, we can see that this is a 50 to 62 retrace location and why we're getting responsive buyers out of there. In order to get to any downside, right, first key is going to be getting below and holding below 16,667, right? So there's no short until we get into that. We have an open gap sitting down here just above 16,500. I would expect responsive buyers the first time in there. There's no indication of weakness on that front yet. And so let's go finish off. There's 5 minutes till. Let's go and finish off these charts real quick and adjust them appropriately. Okay. I think we're good on NQ. Let's see. ES. Oh, that makes things easier. Okay, so hold on one sec here. I'm still totally annoyed by what happened yesterday on CL. Okay, so ES 58.25. I don't think there's anything to adjust that I haven't adjusted there, but I will make sure real quick. So the zone is essentially 58.25 to 60, right? There we go. 58.25 to 60, so we'll just turn this color red. Okay. Monday's high is simply a trap point, right? I would not be surprised if we come back to this 56. If we're opening right on this 56.75, I would not be surprised to see us again drive. I'll be looking for the attempted gap fill, but it would be very surprising if we don't drive this morning. NQ's opening 2 ticks off the high. Let's go look at that really quick. Okay, I have Globex high at 54.75. Obviously, wherever we open, that's going to be the Globex high. So just adjust off the open here in 3 minutes. My guess is they're going to push it up a little bit more. And then on YM, we are indicating 16,788. The high is 16,793. Do I have that adjusted correctly? 791. So I need to adjust up 2 more ticks for that. Okay, and then I do think there is structure on YM right above here. Obviously, I'd prefer to play the trap back to the downside. And by the way, the traps I'm going to be trying to play today are to the upside, unless I see something dramatic off the open, but I expect us to drive into those data points. So unless anyone has any questions, that's my trade plan is to look for long location off of rotations lower, right? I may try a long to the upside on NQ on any sell pressure right into this 38.51.25 location. I'll call it if I see it. Other than that, that's a trade plan for today, guys. Remember, it's 4th of July week. The market's closed on Friday. Okay, there's not almost every institutional guy is gone. Don't put pressure on yourself to kill it this week. It's just not the easiest market in which to kill it. Okay, so every guy who's making money are the guys who just go, I'm buying long, I'm not worried about the downside. No one's worried about the downside right now, right? And actually professional traders are actually trying to find other markets to trade, and that's because they have to make money. Those guys get paid. Those guys get paid because they are making money and for no other reason. Okay, so hold on one second. I need to close down some of this from yesterday. Workspace. Oh, and then I need to save this real quick. And it looks like we're open. Okay, so we opened right below that 16,786, right? Obviously, adjust appropriately on your NQ and YM charts. And hold on, I need to open up this NQ chart on another page. Okay, I'm just going to get rid of these two here. And we are obviously driving on NQ out of the gate. And that's exactly what I thought happened. So you have to think potential open drive higher out of the gate right now. And that sucks. How many days in a row have we seen this now? We're willing to get long and get just zero rotation out of the gate. It's almost just a race to see who can buy it faster. So I'm going to pull NQ off of here. Everyone should have that on their chart anyway by now. Man, look at that. YM just rocketed out of there. So obviously get rid of that 16, 18, 12 is no longer an issue anymore. There may be a backside test, but obviously the backside test would be for the Globex high. And so obviously that helped. And on we're obviously fighting at this 1960 level. Man, I might be totally wrong. I might have been, hey, you weren't willing to take the trade exactly where you should have taken it on this ES trade, but I am willing to wait on taking that trade. So tick is positive 600. So here's zero tick. The first thing we're going to want to watch, right? Trend days tend to have tick that hold above zero, right? So we will see if we hold above zero. As a matter of fact, on trend days, the first best long location is usually on a zero tick, and so I may take a shot at that there as well. It's been a while since I've taken that trade. So I'm going to go grab coffee just for a minute. We'll give this a minute to settle down. We have econ in 10 minutes. And hopefully this is hopefully they give us something to work with here. Also, heads up on the rotations, right? We're up 17.5 points. That's over 15 from the prior day's close. A 15-point rotation down from where we're at right now would bring us to 38.43 on NQ. And I'd be surprised if we get down that far on the rotations. Again, no attempt at gap fill, no attempt at half gap. It's pretty much been open and go. And I would be surprised if that first 5-minute bar isn't the low of the day. So give me a couple minutes, guys. I'll be right back. I thought you had to drink it all before I make anything else. Okay, guys. Obviously, ES has failed to get above that 1960 so far. And so we will see where we are here in just a moment. The tick is approaching 0 on ES. NQ's clearly been the leader. And then we have Econ coming up, so keep that in mind. Again, there's been no reason to step in front of this stuff. As a matter of fact, I'm kind of inclined to take that long at the first time we get to a 0 tick. We didn't even get the damn zero tick before they pushed it to a new high on NQ. Man, it's really getting annoying not getting any counter rotations for these longs. So excellent. Thank you. Thank you again. Well, right idea, no opportunity to execute. So hopefully we get a rotation lower. We get a test opportunity. We still haven't had a zero tick. I would like a zero tick. I hate that NQ has not given us a decent long in the morning. Come on, let's get that zero test right into econ. This 845 econ means nothing. And then let's get the move ongoing. Here comes your zero test. Almost, not there. I will take ES. That's close enough for me. I am taking ES long at 1958.50. I have a 3-point stop on this, and right there at that zero tick, we just took it. So that is a very aggressive trade, guys. Okay, so it is hard to take these trades up here like this. Essentially what the deal is there is I don't want, really that first 5-minute low should be the low. So And this is the issue without getting any rotations lower. You got to take basically what they're giving you, right? So essentially the bet is that that 5-minute bar is the low of the day. And it sure is an uncomfortable feeling having to take the trades like this. And of course, most likely outcome is I will be summarily punished for not waiting for my rotations lower, but we shall see. I will not back away from that stop, by the way. It's interesting. I had some interesting thoughts last night on stops, right, and fear and trading. If you can just simply face your fear, of taking the stop, right? By the way, Ron asked a good question. What the target is 60. This is a bet on trend day up, guys. Okay, it might be completely wrong. That's a gap. We've been all positive ticks since the open. NQ's open drive higher, at least as far as I can tell. NQ's open drive higher. My assumption is that ES will follow behind. Could be totally wrong. If you're scared of that trade, you can take profits now and get the heck out of town. But that is a zero-tick trade. That's the only way that trade lines up. I really wanted NQ. It really sucks that we didn't get NQ. Let's go. Let's drive it. So I should be able to get this driven right into the econ. Hopefully. That's my goal at least. Let's break. Boom. Let's go. Drive. Drive, 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 drive. 1960-50 is my first scale. filled. +2. Hallelujah. And I thought I was never going to get a trade again. Okay, so you got to everyone should have gotten a scale off of that. Everyone should have got a scale off of that. You can move your stop to break even, right? If you're not playing for the trend day up. Or you can choose net break even if you are playing for the trend day up. Or you can just leave the stop where it originally is at 3 points, right? Your risk is basically 1 point on half the position size, right? So hopefully I paid for my keep this morning. It's been a frustrating 2 days. Now comes the battle, right? That 1960 is the battle du jour. Man, I wanted NQ so bad this morning. I saw that coming. You just would not give us the entry. The ES is the consolation prize. Okay, so take a picture of that. That is open drive higher. First zero tick is usually a money trade, guys, on trend days up. You've got to know that it's a trend day up is the only way to identify that. Okay, so we've done a couple of things really good this morning. First of all, we haven't taken the short side of the trade, right? That's the second day in a row where we've sidestepped those scalps. You cannot minimize the importance of not taking those hits when you can identify that it's not in our favor. Secondly, we've identified that zero tick trade. While it may not be on your menu, hopefully you've learned something, right, that you can apply in the future. That'll pay dividends down the road. That's extremely valuable, right? But secondly, we're just not getting crushed, right? Imagine all the guys that are out there going, well, it can't, right? How many of us have heard the words, it can't keep going up? Nice, Harry. So at any rate, I think a lot of the objectives were achieved in terms of what we were trying to accomplish this morning already even before 9 a.m., right? We sidestepped getting run over. Huge deal. Okay, no one likes to get run over, obviously. I don't like to get run over. But sidestepping it is huge. Hold on 1 second here. I'm trying to adjust my CL chart here real quick. I think it was Ron asked if there was a trap trade to the downside on CL. Ron, I'm not taking any short side trades on CL right now. I think the risk is all to the upside. I may be totally wrong on that, but I have not taken a short side trade in 2 months. I think 2 months on CL. To answer your question, only long side trades. And if you look since London Open, right, we really just tested Globex low since London Open to the downside on that. That's all that was. And we held perfectly. I would not be surprised to see us break this 105.90. If we can get above that 105.93 to 105.90 level, that's a rocket ship on that thing. There's nothing to stop that all the way up till 106.07. I realize that doesn't seem like a big rocket ship, but if you can figure that out, that's a lot of money. No sooner said than there goes CL. 106, 106.11 on tap. And Ron, that is why I have not shorted CL. So after that, we have 106.15 to 106.19. And then we have a pretty good stretch after that where we can actually see really the first major 106.36, 106.39 is really where I'd like to see that stretch into. Okay, for those of you who are watching CL, do you see that rejection right out of that 106.07, 106.11 area, right? That's about as easy as it gets trade-wise. perfect example of responding off of trade location. Now let's get ES driving higher, please. Let's just finish with the trend day up that we all know we're going to have, because there is no downside in the market, right? NQ driving to highs, up 27. We're pushing up 30, guys. Remember your rotation sizes, okay? So from 38.53, this is 63, 68. This is a 15-point rotation. If you're going to, for some reason, take the short here, you've got to have a 10-point stop. I'm not taking the short. If I miss the high, so be it. That was a serious smoking of the shorts on CL, and rightly deserved. Shorting near a 50 retrace is not a bright thing to do. This is big now, right? We need to really hold above this 60. Okay, so what are we looking for now? If they look where they've stopped it, right? This is exactly 38.69, 53, 63, 68. This is exactly just past the 15-point rotation, and they are stutter stepping it right here. If you're concerned that they're going to reverse it back and trap it below, right, simply move your stop to break even or net break even, one of the two on the ES trade. This is the first time I've seen responsive selling yet in ES. Wow, look at that. Complete reversal. Okay, so remember to measure your rotation down, right? That was 15 up. We know where 15 down is. Wow, that was a huge rejection of a CL out of that 1607 area. You have to be precise on CL if you can. That was interesting. They're actually trying to reject below 60 here. That's very interesting. I don't know if I'm all that interested in taking this trap. I could be totally wrong on that. I would like to see them hold it above 60 here, but I don't think I'm interested in taking the trap here. I really don't. I don't see any weakness in NQ yet. See that? It was just a pause at a 15-point rotation. Okay, so let's keep this concept going with NQ, right? We just took a 15-point rotation. So what pits us up 30 from the open, right? Let's take a look at that. So that's would bring us to 38.8350, okay, which would be, interestingly enough, oh, you know what? I'm looking off. No, I am off the intraday. That's right, 38.8350. So that's just past my upside target of 38.76. So somewhere in that area, I'd expect us to get tired, okay? So I'm still riding the second half of this ES trade at this point. Although I doubt I'm as brave the second time down towards 1958.50, and I will probably take the trade out. 1962.50. I'll take another quarter of this trade, and the rest is left to fly. Done. Stop, move to break even. Nice job, David. Way to go, buddy. David, did you take 1958.50? That was the first time David's traded two contracts, and he had a 2 and a 4-point winner. That's nice. 1958. Good for you. Nice job to get paid. That is not an easy trade to take. Brian, did you get paid on that? BP, if you're still on? I guess Brian's dropped off. Why I took ES? Because that's an ES trade setup for me. It's not an. Ron asked why I took ES instead of NQ on the zero tick. Actually, it's not a bad question. I just thought ES. I think ES has room to play catch up. That's all. And NQ already took off. I really wanted NQ on that backside. I just wanted the smallest backside test this morning. We didn't get it, so that just really sucks. But you're right. I would have already had 10 points, or the equivalent of 4 points. But we've gotten paid 2 and 4, and now you're at 6. I mean, I can't see what more you want. So I think our trade plan has worked beautifully. We're getting up into this on this NQ. If you look on your charts, right, we're getting towards the upside target here, 38.76. And we're into the 63, right, on ES. So here's what the bet is, right? If you're staying long through the 63, which I am, I only have a quarter of the trade left. You have two choices. You can go, I'm long 58.50. This is 63.50. Okay, so I've got 5 points. That's good enough for me. Or you can say I'm playing for the trend day up, and I'm not going to take any money off. Or you can even take a little bit off from there. And or you can say, no, I'm just playing for the true. We're closing at the high of the day. I'm leaving it on. Play. That's what I'm doing with the last quarter of this. I've taken scales at 2 and 4. I may end up back at break even on this last quarter. I may end up plus 10 or 15 on it. I have no idea. All I know is the shorts are not working, so I'm not going to find it. Okay, so we've gotten a rejection out of that 63, 65 area as anticipated. Now we'll just see if we grind or don't grind. So market is behaving exactly like we would anticipate, right, on a day where we're having trend day up. Well, first of all, there's been no downside, Harry, and so that eventually was something was going to give, right? And we've been here. I'll show you. Give me just 1 second. I'm going to post this chart, and then I'll do just that. I don't want to give away all the zones. Here we go. So I can tell you right out of the gate, the first thing that made me think that we're going to have an open drive higher was NQ was pounding away to the upside. Okay, so yes. The second thing, see if I can get this done real quick. Sorry, it's hard for me to do the two things at one time. The second thing was that consolidation I showed you on the volume profile chart that I went through this morning. Was that we've been building, we've been like a pressure cooker, right? We've been building this pressure. Whenever that releases, it releases a lot of energy in one direction or the other. The trend's been up to begin with, and secondly, I've been practically banging my head against the wall because almost every day we come in here, I've been going, I'm looking for a rotation lower to get long, right? For what has it been going on 3 weeks now, I think, and we don't get hit in any of the zones lower, even for aggressive trades, right? We only had one day where we had a really clear shot, right? And so it's just driving me nutty, but the conclusion was obviously we're going to drive higher. Was my conclusion, and then you see right at the open they're banging against highs, and ES was the follower, not the leader here, right? So it only made sense that it was going to follow behind. That's kind of what added up to open drive higher. And then all the econ that we had this morning, I mean, every piece of econ's been greeted positively. Does that make sense, or does that help? I hope. And then to top it off, right, no attempted gap fill, no half gap. Okay, and then the one thing, what do we all want to do when we see the market like this, right? We have open drive higher. What do we all want to do? Oh, I want to capture. This is going to be the top. I want to fight it, right? Guys, for those of y'all that have been with me a long time, of all the open drive higher trend days up, right? Where do we lose our money? Fighting this thing, right? We haven't had any counter rotations for days, right? Why pick an open drive higher? Why pick this to be the top when you don't need it for your P&L to work? Right? We don't need it. And it's not like I've had a phenomenal day. I've had this is the best trade for me since last Tuesday, right? But if we can just tread water, right? We can just tread water when the market gets thin like this and get to where we nail the big trades, right? The good trades. And how do we do that? Because we know exactly what our good trades look like. What was the best trade this morning? Not taking the short. Second best trade was taking a very aggressive zero tick trade. Ron asked a really good question. How do I approach the trap trade on first hour high on days like today? And the answer to that is with pessimism. Okay, so I just don't trust catching tops in thin markets, holiday markets, where it's not going to take a lot to drive. It's not going to take very much to drive this all day long, guys. Okay, think about it. The rookies are in charge. There's no hedge fund managers or mutual fund managers or, you know, in the Hamptons or wherever it is they go these days, right? And they're already having their Bloody Marys, and they'll be shortly followed up by their afternoon cocktail, only to be followed up by the evening, whatever it is they have in the evening, if they're only doing alcohol, I assume. Hold on one second here. Harry, I wanted to make sure I answered your question for you, buddy. If I did, let me know. If I didn't, tell me, please. Okay, I'll answer you. So Harry was not in the room. Harry, you can hear me right now. That's cool. So the deal was what it indicated, the open drive. Here, let me see if I can get this real quick. Let me see if I can find this chart here. There it is. Okay. So this is YM, right? YM is the one that needs to break still above 16,894. Nothing doing there just yet, right? We're clearly poorly auctioned below. We have some room to the upside. But so this is essentially a huge consolidation box, right? So this may hold us, may not, but we're begging for a test up here and probably a break, right? Let's go look at, where is ES? Okay, this is ES. Okay, one could argue this is structure, right? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days of structure. Now, there's nothing that says we can't have 10 days of structure, but we just haven't had any downside, right? And the other key to that was that all the opens and all the closes have been, okay, this was the highest open. All the closes have been below this point, okay? So any open above this point was conducive to a potential open drive higher, right? We're gapping out of the range, right? So actually, I guess technically you can argue that this, there's the lowest close, that this was your box right there, right? Pressure cooker relieves, pressure relieves to the upside. Okay, makes sense? So now the big test is, can we hold that 1956, right? And then look, so that was my key, the potential open drive higher. I do not know, Ron, I'll get to that question in just a second. So at any rate, I don't know that the breakout will hold, right? It could be a head fake breakout. I could get stopped on this last quarter of the trade, okay? But, excuse me. Okay, so that was what was really driving me. And then look at NQ, right, which was really the big, NQ is the leader here, clearly. And I had pointed out how NQ really looks like this right here from when we broke out of this structure right over here, right? And essentially we've had, what is that, 2 or 3 weeks of sideways consolidation. We've broken out. The last time we moved up like this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 days before we saw any kind of downside, and even then it just went sideways. Okay, so this is day 3, right? Imagine 16 days. That'll get me through vacation and back, basically, of a potential upside. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but this, all I'm saying is this isn't unprecedented or unbelievable or jaw-dropping or any of that stuff. Okay, and I understand also, Ron, the frustration. The market forced me into a decision very early in the day, right? I had to take that first zero tick. It was the only shot I had at getting long. There was no other trade. The other trade was, all the other trades were short trades. But this is why it's psychologically important for you to check off in the box. Check off, if you normally would have taken that scalp to the short side, if you normally would have taken a trap that's set up and you didn't lose money, you need to go down there and somehow acknowledge for yourself that was money made, right? That's a penny you do not have to recover in your future trades. To me, that's a big deal, and it's probably usually responsible for a great deal of my success at this point, is avoiding those trades that chop the hell out of me. And by the way, Ron, the other deal with ES, why I took ES over NQ, is that you got to remember I trade my largest size in ES, right? My overall P&L has been dying on the vine in terms of compared to other months because I have not been able to pull off any ES trades with any regularity. Okay, so I trade significantly higher volume in ES than I do in anything else. Now, I understand if you're still a relatively smaller trader, that's not as big an issue to you. But hopefully, with a great deal of you, of the guys, I'll be able to help y'all move into a situation where you are trading large size in ES, and ES will quickly become your favorite because of its ability to provide you with those opportunities. Now on to Ron's question. In that case, would you play NQ? 15 with a 10-point stop, Ron, would be my play to the upside on NQ. At this point, I don't see it happening. We're almost to the upside target. I missed it within a couple of points, so not bad. And let's see, this morning, Tuesday morning. Okay, we're good. Have anything on the schedule? Guys, give me just a second to make sure I cover all my bases here. Hold on one sec. Does that answer the question, Ron? Damien. What time is it now, GMT, Damien? Ten minutes into New York launch. Okay. Well, we will keep that on our radar. I'll be long when that happens, or I'll be stopped at break even, one of the two, right? And again, it's not worth us, in my opinion, taking short side trades today. I hope that makes sense to everybody. I'm just not going to fight it. It takes too much energy, right? Remember, there's value. There's value in learning something from the market, even if you don't catch the trade, if you can apply it to future lessons, right? There's no value if you're doing this and you're not learning for next time. Okay, it's been months since I pulled out that zero tick trade out of my hat. Guys that y'all have been with me for a while, you know that that's a trade that we were using regularly back in February and March, right? It's been a long time since I pulled that trick out, setup, and we don't use it very often. So print it, note it. If I were anyone in the room this morning, right? This is extremely valuable information for you as a trader. Take it, print it, put everything that you saw pre-market, print the volume profile charts, write detailed notes as to what happened, what you didn't see, and what actually transpired, right? the strength of the open drive higher. What's the first thing that we saw out of the gate, right? First of all, we had strength, we had velocity, right? Mark the velocity. If you could have recorded it, or for those of y'all that record your session, store it and review it over the weekend, right? This is what it looks like when the market goes fast. This is how we knew to sidestep it. We had NQ, we had NQ, right, just busted out of a base. We had ES just breaking off a consolidation pattern, and we have YM heading towards a breakout. Not quite there yet, right? We had lack of rotation back down, lack of gap fill, lack of half gap. I think I covered all those bases there. I would sear that into your mind. It doesn't happen very often. Usually it's a 14 open drives high. True trend days up only occur 14% of the time. Open drive higher is probably closer to 20% of the time, but those cause the greatest amount of losses to your trading guys. If you can sidestep them, right? We don't need days like today to pay us, although with the last couple of weeks you you might think that, right? But we do need to avoid them in order to avoid having to dig out of a hole. And I'm missing. CL is just a beast today, guys. I nailed this thing. I mean, I didn't expect to nail it, but I did. Man, I mean, look at the reversal on that thing. Holy camole. I thought I was doing good. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I did not expect that. And I really showed the support level. I've got two down here. Hold on, let me put this together real quick. One right here where we're at right now. Okay, and below here, well, where we were, that 105.38, right? Followed by 105.32 to 105.28. Let me put the pieces together down below. Man, if we get below 105.28, we were super poorly auctioned back down to yesterday's low. The first area that I'd really be confident in is 104.79 to 104.77, all the way down to 104.66. Man, what a vicious, mean, ugly reversal. Our Globex lows depends on the day. Usually, yes, but we flew right through that. Usually near the open they are, is the answer to that question, Alan. Like in the first 30 minutes of the day. The beast is on that is sometimes you'll get run. CL takes a lot of practice. Like I'd really get into a groove on paper before I even tried it with real money. I don't have a better way of explaining that. CL is one of those things where the virgin tests are the important tests. Like the first time we got into that 106.7, 106.11, that was a virgin test. Rejected. First time into 105.90, 93 today. Rejected. First time into Globex low. Rejected. Now below here, right, the next virgin test is 105.32. And hold on a second, I want to see something real quick here. And then below there, 105.11. If you look behind there, 105.11 to 105 is an area I would look at for potential reversal as well. And that was a beast. Okay, I'm going to have to keep my eye on both of those today. I'm not long right now, CL. I'd be interested if we get down to that 105 again, first time. Tom, there is. I'm so sorry, buddy. Hold on a second. If you don't have that by 7:45 in the morning, hit me, and I'll send it right over. There you go. So it's holding. Wait a minute. I don't think I understand your question, Alan. Are you asking me on CL? Okay, so there's two Globex lows here. Okay, you have this Globex low, the 24-hour Globex low, right, which is right here, obviously, at 105.43. The London Globex low is 105.62, and I thought that was more important today than this 105.43. I'd really be shooting for that 105.11 area for a long if I were going to take it. Does that make sense? We can go over it in session, but I count two Globex lows. When London sets its own distinct Globex low, I consider that more important than the Asian Globex low. I consider Asia to have the least amount of importance, London to have the most amount of importance. So at this point, it's critical to get it back above the 105.62. If not, and we can't hold that 105 area, we're heading back for the 104.66, and then I'm working on levels below there. So does that make sense? What I'd really like to see is a break of that 104.66 from yesterday, then a close back above. Did that make sense, Alan? Did I help you with that? Or you can just play against this low here, this 105.42, right? 105.42 with the stop against that. That 105.34 basically I'd use as my stop. But that was a pretty weak low. I really think we're going to try for that 104.66. But first with bounces near that 105, 105.11. Man, what a day. Look at CL going the other way. NQ rocking. Okay, guys, so we haven't had many examples of this, but there are times when you can just, if we were in more of a normal market or I was more in a groove, I'm not sure if I'm out or it's in, but there's times when you see this. I guess I could do a better job if we had more occasions of this or in a different market, but normally what I would expect, okay, so if this, let's take a little bit different scenario. Let's say this had occurred from a pull down, from a breakdown. Let's say we had corrected 2 or 3%, and then we got the same setup where we're opening right just at the top of balance, but with another market like NQ already having broken balance and gapping above, so that NQ would follow up. That would be the time where I would go double and triple size if I could with a tight stop, but in an attempt to capture that breakup or look for that zero tick. The zero tick trade is beautiful because it gives us an opportunity to get in that trade with relatively low risk on trend days up. And what I'll do, since it hasn't happened in a while, It's 946. So, okay, see how we've come down to this 105.28.32? See how we've paused here? Okay, and then I still think we have a chance at this 105.20 area. It's hard to catch, and I would actually rather catch on a retrace. As a matter of fact, I'm going to set up a background copy window. So since we know this is just going straight up, let's just pull over a CL chart. So let's save this as file, save workspace as. Okay, so let's see if I open CL here, since we are on cruise control on NQ and ES. Okay, I want to be clear again, guys. I did not take the short here. Okay, if you did take the short from 63, did you even get 61? What did we get? You got 61 exactly. Okay, so 2-point rotation lower. The zones are still working. That's nice to know. Let's see if I open CL. Does anyone mind if I do CL? I know most people in here aren't trading CL, so let's just take a quick vote. There's 21 people in the room. Just give me a yes, yes, or no, no. Let's just stick on yes. I don't want to distract people, because I can just do that in one-on-one coaching session if need be. If I get no no's, I'm going to assume it's a yes. Oh. Okay, there we go. This thing does not auto-update. The question, Brian, is if I look at CL real quick, is that going to distract anybody from doing it? I'll keep both charts up. I'll keep the ES and the CL, so that's how I'll handle that. So let me close this. And then I'll open CL, copy the chart. By the way, while we're doing that, notice that the YM still has not hit its year-to-date high. That sure seems like it's coming, but it hasn't hit it there. I would not actually be surprised to see us reject out of the 1880 to 1890 to 68.96 area and not break out till this afternoon. Just a guess. Okay, 38.80. Wow. So okay, so the next 15, right, puts us at. Let's see, where do we? Hold on. Let's do a couple things here. Copy CL. So let's plug this in here. And ES daily. Man, this is a lot of stuff going on at one time. Crap. Okay, so these are my zones, kind of pseudo zones. Obviously, I don't dress this up very pretty in here, but this is the huge, poorly auctioned area. Okay, this is the 104.79 to 104.66 where I would expect a responsive buy. So we're getting that responsive buy. Again, this is where I make that distinction. This was, okay, if everyone can see this, I'll expand this out a little bit. This is London Globex low. This is Asia Globex low. Okay, so here I'll change that style so people can detect some kind of difference. I'll make this color green. There we go. So this was that move that I said I'd expect resistance at 106, 111. This is virgin area. We got a rejection. I didn't think it was short. I would have taken scales off if I were in here, right? Followed by, see if we can move this back down and open up a little bit. Okay, so we are trying desperately to move off of here. So one of the things I like to do when I have CL going like this is, first of all, I would like to see a trend line break, okay, before I overcommit to getting long in a free fall on CL. So a trend line break at this point would mean we need to see a break of this, or you can go with a more aggressive trend line from here to here and at least see this trend line break before I get overly excited about taking a counter trade. If you want to see an example of that, we can go back to yesterday's. Down move. It did not give you an opportunity on this price level, but I want to show you something here. Okay, so here's the most aggressive of trend lines that you could possibly have. As you can see, we broke through all of these. This was your first key, and you'll notice, look how it broke and then it backside tested that. Everyone was looking for that. We can go into this area and break it down very specifically in here as to what that reversal looked like, because this was the key area. I can do that later. I don't want to do that right now. But if you look within here and we break that down, to an 800 tick chart. Let's do 600 tick. See if that helps us. Okay, so the first thing I see here is that I want to see broken, by the way. Okay, so see how I have this little trend line broken, and I now have this. See, I have this broken right here. Okay, so this is telling me that at least the most extreme of it is broken for now. And where do I want to try this trade? I want to use a modified retrace in this particular area. Guys, if I haven't explained this to you, don't go use it. Okay, but this is basically, this 105.35 is where I want to get my entry. Okay, and it's actually already provided it. This is the second time into it. And my stop would be this 105.27. Okay, that would be the attempt. That would be the trade that I would take if I was going, excuse me, what is that, 105? What's the low? I show 105.30 out of the low, excuse me. So 105.27 would be my stop. So in essence, I would take the long here at 105.36. I would stop at 105.27 or a 10 tick stop on this particular trade. And I would go through this setup again and again. Now, sometimes one of the keys to this is scaling quickly to begin with. Okay, but the key is to identify that the major portion of the downtrend has been broken. Really what we need to see happen is we need to get out and up over this area to really have any kind of substantial upside move. That hasn't happened yet. Okay, and then if we go back and look at yesterday's, which I'm going to do now. Okay, and like I said, if I take this 105.33, I'm already scaling at 7 ticks. I didn't take the trade because it's hard to trade CL and teach, and every time I've done it, I've lost money. So maybe I've developed a little bit of superstition, right? But I'm scaling here, okay? I am scaling this thing like a beast right here. I'm down to either half or a quarter of my position right now, okay? Why? Well, I've got 7 or 8 ticks. That's $80 a contract on CL. CL is a hard trade. I don't stick around and wait for them to stick it to me. I get the hell out of Dodge. So let's go look at yesterday. Now we're at the back of that 1965. I think I nailed that zone pretty good. And here's the reason why. Look, we're back at 105.33, right? I'm only a couple of ticks away from getting stopped. I take my scales. Now if I took my scales there, I can leave my stop hard where it is and I still walk out with a profit. That's usually the idea and usually how it works for me. I just haven't been able to do a very good job of that live. Okay, so let's look at yesterday. So clearly, right, here's your last portion of this downtrend. I'm not going to go break it down by 15 minutes, right? Clearly this had to be broken over here just like it does today to get upside, but you never got a retrace to get long over here. Let's see if we did in any of this here. We may not have here either. It really didn't give us a chance. I don't think there was any retrace opportunity here. Oh, actually right here. Okay, so see how we broke the trend line here? Okay, see how if you modified this retrace, again, guys, this is a great way to get your ass kicked. It's not free money. Okay, so please talk with me before you start trying to use that, okay? There was your entry right to the tick, right? Scale at 7 or 8 ticks, stop right below here or right below here, one of the two, and boom, you had a beautiful trade back to the upside. This can fail. It doesn't work in outer space, okay? You've got to be able to structure it from big down to very tiny. But that's basically what we're looking for, right? And now that we've already taken that scale, right, where's our stop? 105.27. So all this dancing around now that people are doing at this 105.35, 105.34, we don't have to care about it now, right? Now we've got a free ride. If they pay us, party time. If they don't pay us, who cares, right? Let's see if we came into that area. We've already surpassed that area. So, right, what's my next area here? I want to do the calculation on NQ really quick. So we've gotten 53 means 83.50. We're at 82.50. We've fallen 1 point shy of that 83.50, and then after 83.50 obviously comes a nice just underneath 3,900. Okay, which I imagine is where we're going to end up later today. So now we've broken that low. We have not broken the downtrend on CL. Okay, so here I'll bring this back over. And that's exactly why we use our stops. And the next area I really have is down here, this 104.79, except I take it back. Remember I said 105.24 to 105.11? 105.11 would actually be the next place I would take a shot at it. Or 105.10, I'd be willing to take a shot there. I'd expect a response back to the upside, or hold on, what was this level? Was this, where was the Globex low? Was 105.40? You need 105.43 to trap back above. So I'll watch. I'll trade it. I'll see if they give me an entry here. But I think the most important. Look, the most important thing, guys, is, right, we haven't spent our day trying to fight or be tense on what has been a straight-up day. And I cannot tell you how valuable, important that is. It's massively important on both open drives higher and open drives lower. Harry, this is exactly what I was talking about by sidestepping those situations. And even now, right, even at 9:30, right, open drives lower after 9:30 are a little bit easier to trade. Why? Because we're in a bull market. People are going to be responsive buyers. But open drives higher with potential trend day up. By the way, mark off your 9:30 high on these, which is 38.75, right? That would be our trap. Now, normally, a trap at first hour high is pretty decent on a day like today. You're going to have to decide, given the week, whether you want to take the risk involved in that trade. So, and you'll notice we broke just below, and now we've trapped back above. That that could be a potential trap, but it's a trap in outer space, unfortunately. So I wouldn't trust it. And again, now you got to go over there. Okay, so one of the things you got to do. Now we've moved this line, right? So what do we need to see? So this requires constant tinkering. Okay, now we want to see above this point, right, to get an upside move. So it's got some work to do here. There's nothing for me to worry about at this point, and I won't re-enter it quickly. Does anyone have any questions over that? I'm happy to answer it. But the key to scaling in CL is huge. You cannot wait and try to hit the home run on a full size. You'll get smoked. You'll lose money over time. You'll hit it once or twice, but you'll get smoked. And same thing with, like, even though my position has been, I'm only looking long, right? But I'm only looking long in context of the larger picture, right? The moves have been generally easier to the upside. So I'm happy to wait down here at this 104.66, 104.79, right? And I actually technically know we can move down to 102 quite easily, okay? But most days, the long side trade has paid me in massive dividends. I'm lost on this chart, but as to where I'm at, hold on a second here. This is yesterday's low down here. Oh wait, no, that's, man, I'm lost. Let me go to a 15-minute. Okay, here we are. Asia low. Yesterday's low. London Globex low. So we're breaking Asia low. That makes total sense. That was 105.43. For any trap to occur, we got to get above and close above 105.43. Okay, now I know where I'm at. I can go back to a smaller time frame now. And I know I'm going to make this bigger because this is important right now for a potential trap. This trap would be hard. It's going to need a lot of stopping room, right? Secondly, again, you got to modify looking at CL in different ways, right? So right now this becomes my new make or break location. I want to see us get above this point at this point, okay? Also, this is important as well, but this now becomes important, followed by this one. What I'd most like to see would be it trade sideways, get above, and then have access back to the upside. We'll see if it gives that to us. Does that make sense to everyone? Man, I feel like I'm in such a groove today. It's not even funny. It's been a while since I felt like, okay, I've got this rhythm. I mean, even hitting the zone right and the rotation right where it's pausing is a huge confidence booster for me. Thank you, Brian. I am one of the most humble guys I know. Just ask me. Okay, guys, I think I've done about as much good as I can do for y'all this morning. I'm going to jump off. I will not be on Thursday morning, by the way. And go USA. I'll leave it open for a minute if anyone else has any other. Yeah, Brian, this is recorded. I'll send you the recording. No problem. Anyone else have any questions? We still haven't broken on YM, by the way. Right, we're still just below the 1680 area. You know it's begging to get tested, but not there yet. Right. Don't forget to mark off your first hour high on all of these charts. Okay, we'll just first hour high. We'll, just for the fun of it, mark off first hour low. Again, I'm not taking ES trap trade today. The numbers haven't supported it. If it goes without me today. That's just all there is to it. Don't forget to mark off your first hour low as well, right? So we don't know. You don't want to be scrambling to get that done. Oh, I did say I would go over the zero tick rule, so hold on a second here. Okay, zero tick rule. Very simple. Okay, when you've identified it's an open drive higher, where's my 1 minute chart? Oh, this is completely jacked. I have two CL charts up, that's why. Here, we'll get rid of this CL chart right now. There we go. So, ES, 1 minute. Here we go. Okay, what I would like you to do for homework, all of y'all, okay, so you simply pull up a 1 minute chart. First key is on the regular chart you've identified open drive or potential open drive higher with potential for trend day up. Often, not always, but often, very often, once you've confirmed that that's the situation, the first test of zero tick, and this more applies to the trend up than the trend day down day, right? First test of the zero tick, okay, is your best entry to the long side. This is a trade you need to have printed and put in your daily review before market. I have it in mind, okay, and so that it stays fresh in your mind. It does not come up often enough that you'll go, oh, there it is, I'm going to take it, right? But it will save you an immense amount of money. That's all I can say about that trade. It'll save you an immense amount of money on your trading, and it will make you a lot of money if you can take the trade. Usually a 3-point stop on that trade in ES does the trick for me. I've been stopped a few times on it, but I've made money probably out of 20 occasions. I think I'm 17 for 20 or 17 for 21 is the last time I went and looked at my stats on it. Okay, so it's a very high odds trade. Usually a 3-point stop does the trick. And generally speaking, you can get burnt on it, right? You can have a gap and then it can fail. You have to use your stops, and you still have to scale, right? The idea is still the same as it is in all trades, guys. When we're working on the coaching sessions, you know, I work on this. Get a portion of your risk off. For those of you that are new, the whole idea is that I'm increasing as I can maintain a high win rate. I'm constantly, in a formulated manner, increasing my trade size. But the only way that methodology works is if you get risk off in a relatively shorter period of time. So at the 2 points, take a portion of the risk off, okay? And there are markets where I'll go supersized on that trade, but today wasn't one of them. It's just normal. I'm just happy to get normal size trade on for once. So that's all I can say about that trade. It's really high odds. It's very simple and straightforward. There's not a lot of thinking to it. It either works or it doesn't, which can be nerve-wracking for a lot of people, right? Because there is no clear sign. There's no gates that open up and go, this is trend day up, we'll close at the high of the day, Simon. That are simply, I identified the key parameters, lack of gap fill, open drive higher, markets operating in unison, kind of like it has to kind of formulate in a perfect storm. We got no entry to the long side. Excuse me a second. We open in a perfect storm, and then we get that trade to the upside. So really, really, really nice. By the way, I'll be chopping that off because I'm probably going to post this I'll be chopping this little portion off. I don't feel like handing that trade to the whole world. If you paid for it, great. If you didn't pay for it, or for our guests, consider that a bonus. That alone should make you tons of money the rest of your life. If that's the only trade you had in your portfolio, you would not trade very often, but you would have a huge rate of return. As a matter of fact, I ought to just start a hedge fund or mutual fund and just run that trade. It'd be the most inactive mutual fund or hedge fund in the world, but it would work. Harry, not as much. And you can really get smoked. You got to watch for an extreme tick opening on trend day down, because an extreme reading can turn into a reversal on a trend day up, and also simply because of the tendency in the last 2 or 3 years for trend days down to not actually be trend days down, but tend to be range extensions lower. You have to be a little more crafty with that. Make sure you get good location on the trade with the zero tick. You can get burnt on that on the downside just because of how strong the market's been. Let's see if I missed another question. Tom, you took the long on CL out of that 105 at 24 area. Am I understanding that correct? Or are you asking me if I'm out on 10 ticks? I'm out in less than that sometimes. Usually less. So Harry, I hope I answered the question for you there. Tom, if you can clarify for me. It should be 105 that you took it at. If you took 104.67, you're awesome. It hadn't even traded there today. Yesterday it did, and it was a beautiful trade, but not today. If it gets down there today, but I'll take that. At least I'd be willing to take a shot at it first time in. But right now it looks like it wants to pound new lows. Anyone else with any questions? Oh, yes, Damien, great point. My zero tick is based on TradeStation. Every platform derives their own tick. Okay, I derive mine off of TradeStation. It will not match Sierra charts. It will not match almost anyone else's. They all derive them off their own data. Okay, so keep that in mind as well. That's very frustrating, but there's not a uniform tick. It's CLQ 14 is the current contract. CLQ as in Queen. Tom, you need to check that and be careful that liquidity can get really bad. Good job, but liquidity can get really bad on the wrong contract. Wow. Yeah, I trust TradeStation's tick. Tom, you can hit me if you have questions. You can hit me on Skype. I'm going to jump off. I actually got a coaching session coming up. I'm still long ES. I'm not planning to change that. I'll either get stopped break even or I'll close on the high of the day, one of the two. That's how I'm going to handle this trade. I'm not going to fight the balance of the day today on trying to figure out where our top is in this. Okay, so use the correct contract in NQ, but oil trades on a different schedule. Okay, so just be aware of that. So use the correct contract on YM, NQ, and ES. It is not the correct on CL or GC on gold either. Okay, and then I want to stress one thing about oil, guys. If you have not traded it, it is incredibly dangerous. I have gotten smoked severely on stops before. I've gotten smoked on entries before where I've gone market and gotten hit 10 and 15 ticks higher on my entries long. I've got stop run on it. Every nightmare story you can think of while I was learning to trade it has happened. It's a greatly rewarding contract to trade. You can make a ton of money on it, but take your time, master your entry, know exactly what you are going to do step by step. If you stop to think on CL, if you have to think about what you're doing, right, while you're doing it, it's a great way to get smoked, okay? And that's why you see me, when I take those trades 4 times in a row and I'll get stopped 4 times in a row, it's because I know that I can hit 50, 60, 70, 100 ticks. But what I won't do, okay, what I will not do is I will not change. If I don't have it pre-planned, I will not take it. And CL, it's just too freaking, it's got to meet my setups because it's terrifying to trade if you get caught the wrong way, okay? Anyways, I'm going to jump off. Correct. It's Q as in Queen for CL and GC right now. Anyways, guys, okay, I will talk to y'all later. I hope that helped. And, if you have any other questions, it's a slow week. This has been a fantastic result today. And, my goal here is to provide value added in both in terms of anyone who's in, whether I'm coaching you or you're in the room. If you're just simply in the room for the morning preview, the goal is just to make you generally a better trader, give you a heads up on the structure. If you're my coaching client, right, my goal is to make y'all not just slightly profitable, but hopefully very, very profitable and turn you into professional traders, if that's possible, if time allows, right? And part of being a professional trader is slugging through this stuff that we get like this week, recognizing when it's dangerous to short and being able to sit on your hands and be uncomfortable. And then also the other part, which you'll notice, and I was really thinking about this last night, and I'll leave this last part. I was thinking about fear. My biggest fear when I started trading was getting my stops hit, and it still makes me the most uncomfortable, and it's why I refuse to move those stops. It's almost a test to me to see if I can handle letting my stop get hit without breaking, okay? And for me, it's a point of pride. That may be bad, that may be good, I don't know, but it is a point of pride for me to handle those stops. And because when I go back and look at my data, and I'm almost positive if y'all would all go back and look at yours, every time you move a stop or every time you move an entry, an exit prematurely, I bet if you go back and look on over 90% of those cases, because I know that's true of mine, the trade would have worked and I just freaked out, right? And not only that, but I got so involved in getting those stops hit that I would get emotional about it. And those would be the days where I would dramatically overtrade my account, okay? So if you're scared of your stops getting hit, use that as a challenge for yourself to accept that, right? And be cool with the uncomfortableness. If you're uncomfortable not trading, make that a challenge for yourself until it becomes no big deal not to trade. Whatever you're most uncomfortable with, that's where you need to focus your energy and make that not a big deal. I hope that made sense. If you have any questions, hit me, guys. And I hope everyone has a wonderful day. My pleasure, Tom. Okay, talk to you later, guys.